In this case, it's all about waiting with perseverance. It's all about waiting on God, because God, through these 7 days, He is doing something. And for that to be complete, our quietness of spirit, quietness of soul, quietness of mind, quietness of words, our quietness is important for the Lord to do what He wants to do in us. What is He doing? He is molding us. He is forming us. He is shaping us. You remember the parable of the yeast? There is a new yeast from heaven which has come or is coming in us, and it is working its way up. It wants to change us. This yeast wants to give us the understanding that we can defeat Jericho. This yeast wants to build in us the understanding we are no longer wandering in the desert. We are no longer wanderers with no purpose, just waiting to die. I mean, think of that first generation of the Jews. Their only aspiration was to die in the desert. Why? That was the curse that God put upon them. You shall die in the desert because you did not obey my voice. I mean, it must be terrible. Your only aspiration in life to be wandering until you die in a place of no water, no shade, in a place of constant dust, in a place of tremendous heat in the day and very cold in the night. What kind of place is that? It's a place of a curse. Even though God was with them, it's a place of a curse. But now we need to change mindset. Now we need to understand we are in a new season. Now we have a new leader. It's no longer Moses, now it's Joshua. It's no longer the Lamb of God who remains mute before the enemy, waiting to be slaughtered. Now we are the Joshua lion army that is attacking to defeat the enemy. But that needs to work its way in us. It needs to build in us the understanding and the faith. It needs to develop a different mindset. Listen, you cannot shout before the walls of Jericho if you are thinking, if your mindset, if your mentality, and if your voice is meh. That's the only voice that's coming out of the people of God in the desert. It's a voice of people who have no aspiration, no future. What kind of prayer can these people offer to God when they are hopeless concerning ever experiencing the promises of God? But when you are full of vision, when you are full of the glory of God that's still ahead of you and says, come and experience the glory. When you have that fire burning in your bones that says, yes, you can do it. Yes, you can defeat this Jericho. Yes, you can defeat every enemy. Yes, you can experience all the blessings of God, all the promises that are in the Bible. You can actually live them out in your life. For behold, the blessings of the Lord are to be experienced in the land of the living. But that yeast needs to work its way up in us, because we need to transition from the mindset of I can't do it to a mindset that says it is already done. Look, theology is good, and theology says we act out of a place where it is already done. Jesus has already done it. Good theology, lovely theology. But it's not the reality either in people's lives or even in people's souls. They can't even feel it. You fill the minds with knowledge, it's done. But they can't even experience it. Why can't they experience it? Because it's not a reality in which they live. But God wants to shift and change. He wants us to live in a reality that is in line with the reality of heaven. For that we need God's faith. For that we need an impartation from heaven that opens our mind, opens our eyes, that we may see things the way that God sees them. The Lord has asked us that we dedicate 7 days to Him, leading up to Pentecost. 7 days in which every day we spend a considerable amount of time in silence and quietness before Him. If you are the kind of people who are new to this, you don't know, well, for how long, I would say, the Lord has not told me to say anything, but I would advise you, start with 1 hour every day. I don't think it's enough personally, but start with 1 hour every day. 1 hour of just waiting on the Lord, 1 hour of silence, 1 hour of just reflecting on His beauty, on His goodness, on His mercy, on His grace, as much as on His power, on His glory, on the fire that is in Him and comes out of Him. Maybe even on the double-edged sword that comes out of His mouth. Even better, don't reflect on anything. Just empty up your mind. Just say, Lord, here I come to spend time before you. And just stand still for an hour. You can be sitting, you can be walking, you can be lying down on the floor. You can do anything you feel comfortable doing, as long as you make sure you have no distractions drawing your attention away from what you're doing. You don't just take breaks to listen to the news. You don't take breaks to pick up the phone. You don't take breaks to do this, that, or the other. You dedicate time that you spend with the Lord. It's very important that it's a dedicated time to the Lord, with the Lord. If you start with 1 hour per day, you may soon find out that it's not enough, as I have. For me today, Saturday, I've already been 3 times in His presence, and each time it was a minimum of an hour and a half.